Okay, I know this video is kind of random, but I had to shoot it because I hooked up these two amps, that one and that one for bass, this one for mids, and I made a couple mistakes and I want to tell you about them so maybe you won't make the same mistakes. What happened was I was driving my first couple days. I had this hooked up and I kept hearing a weird sound, like I was losing connection maybe on my speaker wires. So I drove my about hour and 45 minutes to work, and it seemed like every time I turned a corner or something I would hear it like I had a loose wire. Well, by the time I left work and got going down the road, and it was constant. I mean, it sounded like really bad static in my radio, and I run XM radio, so I thought maybe that wire was touching something. So I tried to ignore it and keep driving because I was ready to go home. You know, I had a crap day at work, I think, that day. And then it was about so bad it was unbearable, and then it just clicked in my brain like if there was a light bulb that could have went on top of my head, it would have lit up. This is a no-no. See, I got the... Man, it's dark. I always do these things at dark. Let's see if you can see this. See that orange wire? Barely. Well, there's a blue one hanging right next to it. That is my factory wiring that is still hooked up to my head unit. So those wires are still live and ready to roll. That right there is my custom wire, speaker wire that I hooked up into my 6x9s up here, and they go into this amp. Same things on the other side. I got them wires just hanging there, not covered with anything. Like the copper's out and all good to go. Like I could plug them in, and these 6x9s would work. The problem is, if those are good to go, and then they touch each other, it's like bad things happen. And lo and behold, I pulled over, jumped back here to see if that was a problem, and both sides, the wires were just hugging each other. So I pulled them apart. I didn't have anything to put on them right then, and I sorry, I had some weirdness. Pulled them apart. Boom, problem fixed. No more static sound, no more craziness. I started to think my 6x9s were blown. I was like, no way these Infinity Kappas were blown, because they can take like 320 watts, and I'm telling you, they scream on this little crappy Jensen amp, which I'm not really liking. But so don't let your factory wires touch. I mean, plug them up, you know, put electrical tape on them, plug them with something, you know, or unhook them. Don't let them just hang there live, because they're going to touch metal or something and probably screw something up. Might blow your head unit. Another bad thing I done, I didn't even think of. I hooked these 6x9s up at 2 ohms. I hooked them up in parallel, just like subwoofers. Only I did it with 6x9s so I could get more power out of my amp. Because I know this amp won't push hardly any watts, and these 6x9s need the watts. And then what I did, see if you can see it. I know you're not going to be able to see it, but that is bridged. That's hooked up at 2 ohms, bridged on this amp. And I did not look it up, but I can almost guarantee you're not supposed to do that on this amp. Because what I've seen from a lot of 4-channel amps is if you hook your speakers up in parallel, like your 6x9s and stuff, you're not supposed to bridge it. And I don't know why. You know, I've hooked up a lot of subwoofer amplifiers, but I've not hooked up a lot of mid amplifiers, just a few. And I've never tried this one, or I've never tried hooking speakers up in parallel and all that on a mid amplifier. But I did on here, and what happens is I realized last night, actually driving home from work, I heard my speakers shut off. That's what they do. My amp's going in to protect. And I had a feeling my amp was getting hot, so I pulled over on the side of the road while they were still off, come back. It was on protect, stuck my hand on the amp, and about burnt my freaking hand off. So it's blazing, getting way hot, and I'm not going to install another fan, but I think it would fix the problem if I just hook these up. I'm going to try keeping them hooked up at 2 ohms and just hooking up to one channel on this amp instead of bridging. If that doesn't work, I'll try hooking them up in series and getting less watts out of this amp, see what happens then. I'm going to try a few things. I'm going to try to give this amp a chance, but yep, a couple things you don't want to do when hooking up mids. And just want to let y'all know.